Welcome to Good and Well. This is my Wednesday night time to spend with you here on Instagram Live and share with you the incredible people that I have met in my life and introduce you to them because I think they're so incredible and I know that there are bits of wisdom that you can get from them as well. Today I'm going to be talking to my friend and incredible human, Suga Shaw, and also known as Amberley Shaw. She is a pro boxer and we are going to be talking about all the cool things. I met Amberley when we were doing a movie together. Little bit of facts there, but we were doing a movie together. And so I met Amberley. She was someone that I connected with and we just clicked like right away. So I'm going to bring her on and we are going to share. And I can't wait to introduce you all to her because she is just a really awesome human being and a complete like BA because I'm keeping it PG. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going, girl?
It's going. It's great. It's so good to see your beautiful face.
I know. It's like we've seen each other 2 times in 2 weeks because I did your show last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that what we did? Time is running together, so I don't even know when it was, but
girl, the days have been running together for over a year now. Hashtag COVID.
You know what? That is true. So we'll just say they've all been running together, but here we are, and I'm so excited. I was giving a little background that we met on a movie set.
Oh my God, you were pumping me up like I feel like a rock star.
You know, we met on a movie set, and you were somebody that I like. I mean, I talked to you for like 2 seconds. I was like, this is my friend. Like, she's not going anywhere. So
yeah.
That, you know, you're just stuck with me.
Thank God.
So, well, good. You know what? We're just friends forever. So I am just really excited because as I got to know you, I learned that you were a pro boxer, that you're a synchronized swimmer, that you're a runner of like hundreds of miles and all these crazy things. So you're just like the ultimate athlete. Like if someone were to look up the word athlete in the dictionary, your face would be there because you're like probably the most athletic person I know.
Oh my God, stop.
Right there. But yeah, I mean, I think you're definitely one of the most, if not the most athletic people that I know. So I had to have you on here because I just want to talk about being an athlete and what it means to be an athlete, about the training, about the motivation, about and how we can put that into our everyday lives if we're athletes, but maybe not elite athletes such as yourself quite yet.
You know, anybody. Sorry, I'm trying to like figure out where the best should I get my ring light all the way in? Ring light pop in. It's just like I can't, you know, you like set it up beforehand, but then it's like not with 2 people.
You know,
I feel good with this framing. Okay.
Beautiful.
What I was gonna say is, you know, anybody that moves their body and shows up day after day to me is an athlete. You don't have to be training for some epic race across the country or, you know, because somebody tried to come to me a long time ago and tell me that because I was between amateurs and pros and I was actually inactive for a couple of years, they told me, stop calling yourself an athlete. You're not currently active. Yeah. Don't worry, not in my life anymore. But he told me, you're not an athlete. Don't call yourself an, of course, right? Don't call yourself an athlete. You're not currently active. Like, you're not competing. And I'm like, excuse.
Right.
You do not have to be competing to be an athlete. Being an athlete is so much more than just your accolades and like, when's your next fight? Even though that's what everybody asks. And people are asking me that right now, so just hang tight. But to me, an athlete is like showing up for yourself, putting your body through the ringer, like especially on the days when it doesn't matter. When you don't have something planned, you don't have like a goal that you're training for, and you still show up for yourself or your team or for whatever it is, and you test your body, you test your mind, you push your limits, and you crush barriers, that's an athlete to me.
Yeah, so, I love that you said especially on days that it doesn't matter because that you don't ever really think about that, but that's the training is what makes you the athlete. Like that's what sets you up for the day and what gives you the ability to actually be the athlete is those days in between.
Yes, that is what makes a champion, not when you win your fight. I mean, that's when you get your record, but that's not what makes up a champion. So it is those days that don't matter that actually matter, right?
Right.
So it's champions are made in practice. They're made, you know, when the fans aren't around. So yeah, I don't like when people don't say they're not an athlete because they're not training for something. You're an athlete, claim it, own it, it's yours.
Yes, I'm an athlete. I'm injured athlete, but I'm an athlete right
You
now.
are. You are. I'm
It's all right. We'll get back there. We'll get back there. I do like my little curls, just my upper body work right now. You know.
And you got those guns.
You know, it's because I only do arms. No, I'm just kidding. I don't only do arms, but some days it feels that way. So what was your first sport? Because so kind of tell us what all you do now, and then let us know what your first sport was, because you seriously do so many sports. I'm like, what the heck?
I hope I remember what I do now. I just had lunch with my boyfriend and was like, I'm scattered. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of things at once, just like how you are. You as like an entrepreneur, all the business side of everything too. So it is a lot. But right now, I currently I injured my knuckle after my last fight, and I was out of the ring for a full year. I couldn't throw any right hands. And then right when I was getting back, COVID hit. So now I've been out for 2 years, which means I'm technically inactive, which just sucks. But so now I'm deciding what I'm going to do on that front. But besides that, I choreographed for a synchronized swimming team. I came out of retirement for synchronized swimming and went to the World Cup competition a couple years ago also. I'm running. I'm going to do a race at the end of May from LA to Las Vegas, which I've done before. As a relay, don't worry, I'm not doing it by myself.
That's just crazy to be.
So I do a few things right now, but the sport that I did start with was swimming. I swam before I could walk. So my sister was having a swim lesson with my mom. So my mom, it all starts with her. She is like front runner of women's athletics in Minnesota. She's the reason that so many women's sports are recognized as state high school sports now.
Oh, mama.
Okay, because it used to just be so dominated by male sports, and women weren't allowed to compete. So she's the one who got it passed through the high school state, whatever, the high school league.
Wow.
Yeah, she's badass. So she was a professional downhill skier with a national team, but women didn't have sponsors back then. So either she had to pay her own way to the Olympics, or she had to pay her way through college. So she decided to take the college route and have an education because she had no other financial support. So I did learn skiing also, with my skis attached to hers going down.
Wow.
When I was tiny, when I could just stand up. But my sister was taking swim lessons, and I was watching, and I kind of just crawled and went in the pool. So there was somebody watching.
The water.
I obviously did not drown, but I did swim before I could really walk. So that's the scoop on that. Swimming was my first sport. After that, I did soccer. I was a dancer. I can't remember. I was a runner when I was little also, for fun. I don't know.
You know, you're just super athletic person. So I did zero sports. Well, I did gymnastics for a very short time in my life.
I wanted to do gymnastics so bad. My mom was like, no.
Yeah, it was great, but I was tall. So by a certain age, it was like, oh, I am too tall to do this, right? So I'm like, my feet hit the bar, and
yeah, I would have been okay height-wise. However, she was like, there's too many injuries in gymnastics. Let's do gymnastics in the water, which is synchronized swimming. So she started a team for me. But guess what? I got injured in synchronized swimming.
Well, you know, you can get injured anywhere, and you are going to teach me how to synchronize swim as soon as all this COVID stuff is gone, because it is a goal of mine. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but are there a ton of Black women in synchronized swimming? Is that a very, no. I would assume it's a little bit lower.
So the thing with that, that's something that United States Synchronized Swimming, well, we just changed the name to artistic swimming throughout the world, but that is something that United States artistic swimming is currently working on right now, is getting more Black women into synchronized swimming. Artistic swimming. I can't change the name, okay? It's been synchronized swimming my whole life. Anyway, they are working on that. And also, yeah, I'm part of Aqua Lily, so that's why I want you to learn synchronized swimming. So
You know,
also
goals. I just
but
don't want to drown.
you're not gonna drown. My pool is shallow. But the thing is, I was, Beyonce's Black is King, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were seeking synchronized swimmers, obviously, Black synchronized swimmers. They could not find enough to fill the scene. So, I mean, I benefited from that because then I was able to be in there. I'm Caucasian, in case you haven't noticed. I'm like pasty skin. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in Black is King. That's wild. But
Yeah.
I mean, she couldn't fill it. She even flew in synchronized swimmers from Jamaica. They have like
Wow.
a there. There aren't enough. There's like no representation in the U.S. There's like, I could probably name all 5 of them.
Wow. Well, here I come. Okay.
Here you come. So
here I come. I could have been in a Beyonce music video. I missed my chance.
You did, but there's gonna be more chances.
All right.
That was an opportunity. There are gonna be more.
Yes. Well, that's really that was a kind of a side thing, but I just wanted to kind of bring that up because that is interesting to me because it's not something. I mean, I didn't grow up hearing about it, and I saw it on TV every now and then, but it was just not something that I heard of. So I was like, I'm not sure if it's something that there's a lot of Black women that are doing. And is synchronized swimming only women, or do they have men's teams? Just that's another thing I thought of just in my head.
I love it. So synchronized swimming was only women, at least recognized in like world competitions. So with our first national team and the Olympics, it's still only women in the Olympics, but now they're allowing mixed pairs into worlds. So one of my teammates, Bill May, who I swam with, he wasn't allowed, even though he's the best in the country, he wasn't allowed to compete with our national team. But now that we have mixed pairs, he can go represent us at worlds. And I don't know when the Olympics are coming up again. I think they may or may not be introducing them in there. They go back and forth.
Very cool.
Russia that had a problem with it. They wanted to wait until they had a male synchronized swimmer groomed to go against ours. So that was the whole
Got
thing.
it.
But yeah, so not really, but it's that's also being integrated more.
That's cool.
So
it's like one of those it's like the one sport that women did first, and then it's like, well, we'll let the men do it too. Everything else is like men are doing it, and they're like, we'll let you ladies come in. So that's kind of cool to have a little bit of a table flipping there. But so my next question is, boxing is such a juxtaposition from synchronized swimming. So when you think boxing, you think like fierce, intense, like tough. And when you think synchronized swimming, you think graceful and, just like poised and beautiful. Right. Yeah. So how did you go from, and since swimming was first, how did you get into boxing from there? Because that just seems like 2 polar opposites. Yeah.
And I'm going to loop back around to that too, because it does seem like 2 polar opposites, but I'm going to tell you why.
Yes, please do. Yeah. I would love, because this is like one of the questions I've always had about you. Like, as my friend, I'm like, how the hell do you go from like boxing or synchronized swimming to boxing? And they seem so different.
So it was a little bit of a fluke or luck, or I don't know, maybe destiny. But I was injured as a synchronized swimmer. I was overtrained. I had like so many injuries. The trainer from Stanford, we had a team trainer, he couldn't even rehab them, right? And also mentally, I was just under kind of abusive coaching, not physically abusive, but it just wasn't healthy for me mentally. So I decided to pull off the national team. I was supposed to be on the 2008 Olympic squad. I decided it's not healthy for my body, it's not healthy for my mind. I could not recognize who I was anymore. And I was like, I'm going to be an 80-year-old by the time I'm 20. Like, my body can't sustain this, right? So I was frustrated, and I'm like, now what do I do with my life? My whole life was focused on elite athlete, performance, going to the Olympics, synchronized swimming. My email address was eat, sleep, breathe, synchro. Like,
wow.
At like Hotmail or whatever it was.
Right, when Hotmail was cool back then.
And I could not, like, I was obsessed, okay? All my heroes were the Olympians before me in synchronized swimming. That was it. That was my whole life. And then I was like, now what do? I need an artistic outlet. I was so depressed. I had no focus, no discipline anymore. And I was going to community college, and I kept skipping my biology class and going to the dance room. And my biology professor said, you know what? If you are going to skip my class, she's like, I can't fail you because you're getting straight A's. Like, it wasn't based on participation. If you're not going to be in my class, be somewhere where you're going to, like, further your life. And I'm like, well, I'm in the dance studio. And she's like, cool. How about go across to the acting studio too then and actually take a class? So I did. I got into an acting conservatory because my teacher told me I had some kind of natural talent, which was basically just the fact that I'm crazy enough to try anything.
Hey.
And I came down to LA for that, was looking for my new passion, walking to acting school, and apparently I lived by a boxing gym. I had no idea, totally unaware of it. I was in the club like 4 nights a week, just acting out, doing nothing. I'm telling you, I was a mess. And this guy was standing outside the boxing gym, and he said, hey, you want to come box? I'm like, no. And he was like, oh, you look like an athlete. I'm like, I'm a broken athlete, you know? He's like, I can fix you. I'm like, you can fix me? Sir, I had a trainer in Stanford. He could not fix me, blah, 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 on and on and on, you know? He's like, no, give me a week, like, just to get used to it, and then we'll work our way up. You let me know if you like boxing, whatever. I'm going to fix you. So I go into the gym. I'm like, fine. Like, I'm not doing anything else.
Right.
So I went in, and we started just, trunk rotation, nice and light. I had a back injury. I had a shoulder injury. I had a hip flexor injury. You need all those things for boxing, by the way. So I was just started slow, little by little, I got rehabbed. My injury wasn't anymore. I was so strong. I got my body back that I was familiar with, like my athletic build, because I had kind of, my body had changed. My focus, I finally had something to focus on. I remember hitting the speed bag, and I was like, oh my God, this is the zone. This is the zone that I feel most like
right, that people talk about, yeah.
I found it again. And so I got my ass out of the club. Excuse my language. I got my booty out of the club.
Right. You danced it right out.
And into the boxing gym, and I got addicted to it. I got addicted to hitting stuff. I got addicted to the challenge, to the science, to the beauty of the sport. And that's where I'll wrap back around to synchronized swimming if you have time for it. And I couldn't look back. Like, from then on, I was just obsessed with boxing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how synchronized swimming is this like dance, essentially. It's like kind of the same thing in a boxing ring when you do watch a boxer kind of moving around. I don't watch boxing, I'm not going to lie to you, because I'm very adverse to any kind of like violence or hitting. So I have a really hard time watching. I support you 100%. And I would be like, yay, when you were done.
Hey,
but like the whole watching would be like, nope. But I mean, I do recognize, the skill and the agility, and like the same thing where you have to like be able to move like you do in synchro. You have to be able to move and go along with things, except for synchro is like with other people, which is insane to me also. But yeah,
awareness, spatial awareness, and timing, they both have. I'll just tell you the similarities they both have.
Yes, please.
It's a sport of precision. Accuracy is everything. In synchronized swimming, it's about angles, like of your legs, your arms, you have to match. In boxing, it's precision of the accuracy of your punch. So you want it to be effective, it needs to go to the right, like to the sweet spot. But both with explosive power, both deal with stamina. Both are like short bursts for a period, like a burst for a short period of time, recovery, back and forth. And yeah, the rhythm, the musicality of both of them is similar. It's just that one is in the water, one is on land, and they just have been given different, like, stigmas behind them.
Yeah.
They're actually so similar. Like, I know another synchronized swimmer who was on the national team too, who she was going to box, had some health things, but she, without knowing that each other did it, we both switched to boxing. And she was naturally really good at it too. So it might be a fluke, but
that's really,
swimmers have a natural inclination for the things that's required for boxing and the discipline.
Really neat.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot the same to me.
I literally was. I mean, I always thought like, how does that even connect? So it's really cool to hear how they connect. And even as you're talking about, I was like, oh, I can see that now. But like before, I was like, how did this girl get to here? Like, how this like tough girl, but she's also this synchronized swimmer. Like, how does that work? But that's cool. But speaking of tough, is where I was kind of going with tough boxers, which because in the movie, that we're in. We play
Yeah.
fast, so we are tough women, and yeah. So we are. So I thought, I mean, for me meeting you, I was like, oh, this like tough girl, which I'm totally not. I'm like, oh my god, don't do that. But you are like just all, you have this like tough air, and I was like, oh, she's tough. So we stereotype boxers, and I knew you were a boxer to begin with, actually, because I know that the producer had said, oh, we have a boxer, like a real boxer that's playing. And so when we took pictures, we didn't talk that night, but I remember you had like your boxing gloves.
I
And
had
I
my
was like,
gloves on. Yeah.
like she's a little scary. Just because I'm afraid of fighting. But so we stereotype boxers as tough. But also obviously you have human feelings. Is it hard to be able to be that emotional human, but also be that boxer stereotype as well? I know I read your email this morning that you sent out an email about your first fight and kind of. I did. Yes, I read about your first fight, and you can go into that if you want to share that as well. But kind of how do you balance that tough persona with B, and even in general, I think athletes are expected to be really tough and like not cry and not like have emotions, or just like supposed to be really strong and tough. Like how do you deal with the both of those?
Yeah. So I kind of have two sides with that. The first thing is that, yeah, boxing is still a male-dominated sport, so most coaches believe that there's no crying in boxing. That being said, I don't cry in the ring. I stay focused. I stay present in the moment. It's dangerous if you don't. However, I am emotional outside of the ring because I care. So that's what I kind of said in my email. It's like if you're not passionate about it, like basically it's like I'm emotional because I care. I want it. Like I'm passionate about it. So I have feelings and I'm like raw, you know? Which drives me, which keeps me showing up, which makes me want more and more and more because I have that fire. But with that fire comes my emotional sensitivity too. There's like a lot of depth to me, the emotional side, which is why I love acting too. It's another outlet for me. But it is like really hard when people constantly are like, toughen up, this. And maybe, especially as a woman, let's say you walk into training and it's your special time of month and you have already cramps. You don't even need to take a body shot.
Right.
You're already feeling it. And it's like, it's frustrating because there are some good women coaches out there, but majority of them are men and they won't understand that. And you might be a little bit more fatigued those days and fight through that. I mean, this is why we are actually, I believe, even stronger than men. And a lot of my coaches who have been men that also recognize that in women have been like, oh yeah, you're way tougher than all my male fighters. So some of them will recognize it and they'll be like, because you have to fight through this, plus like you just don't give up, you know? I'm kind of going on a tangent, but basically what I do is a little bit of a Beyonce trick. So there's Amberley and there's Suga Shaw, right? So I don't let everybody in fully emotional. I don't put down the wall for everybody. When I'm in the zone in boxing, it's just like go time. Like I'm at the gym, I stay focused. I try to just stay as in the moment as possible, focusing on technique, focusing on pushing my body. There's just no space for that sensitivity in that moment. Maybe later on, I might be reflecting on it and be like frustrated with how the sparring went and have my own emotions with myself or share them with my boyfriend or somebody that's close. But I really only let in the people that are close to me. They get all of Amberley. Everybody else just gets Suga Shaw. Like, let's go, let's get it. Like, you know, just the swag, the style, so I do have to separate a little bit, just like how there's Beyonce and there's Sasha Fierce. Yeah. So it's that performance side where you kind of just have to like be on a whole nother level. Because it's life or death sometimes, right? So if you focus while you're in the ring, it could be your ass on the canvas. Right. But outside of the ring, I'm so soft. I am like...
I cried about that.
I'm goofy. I'm sensitive. I don't know if you could tell that. I mean, you know me. All we did on set was like be weird.
Laugh.
It's our strength. But yeah, it is hard sometimes too, especially, and I'll tell you one other thing about being a woman in boxing is that when you walk into a new boxing gym and people don't know who you are, they just assume that you can't fight. So they'll be like, oh, that's cute, you came to train, well, you know, and they won't pay you any money. They will not dap you up, give you respect. A guy can walk in and be trash, be the worst fighter, the worst human, worst everything you've ever seen, and then the coaches and the athletes will immediately welcome them in. What's up, fam? What's up, fam? All day, every day. You walk in as a woman, you do not get that at all. Maybe you get looked head to toe and checked out. Maybe that's the respect you get, you know? So it is like a little bit of an uphill battle. You have to prove yourself. So you have to be twice as good as a male fighter to be even considered legit as a female fighter.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the thing in so many areas, right, as a woman.
Right.
And I'm not to like bash men. I have had great male coaches. All my sparring partners pretty much have been males. And a lot of them are incredible. My coach currently is a male. But it's just hard to break through that acceptance in a gym.
Right.
You prove yourself. So, I mean, I just immediately when I noticed that, I'm like, I'm going to throw punches like a boy, which is really just throwing punches like a girl.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that whatever technique they were using, I was using that so I can get respect. So, yeah, that's my experience with boxing.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, because it's just such any male dominated area, you always have to do a little bit more. You have to work harder. You have to work longer hours. You have to do all of those things. And I will tell you though, my brother's terrified of your hands. So he's like, I'm scared. I don't ever want to talk. He's like, he's like, I don't ever want to talk bad to Amberley. Like, I'm scared of her. So he's scared of you. He would give you mad respect from the very beginning. But I remember he saw your first video. He was like, do you know this woman? I'm like, yeah, like that's my friend, you know, because I feel real cool about that.
His single dropped today.
Yes, his single did drop today, and everybody, I'll throw in the info about that at the end as well.
Good.
But yeah, I mean, I just remember like he saw your video. I don't know how, but he was like, you know her? I'm like, yeah, I know her. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I know her. Okay. And what do you want? Like now, I think because I know you, he won't mess with me, and we'll be good. So, you just be on my side. In any family arguments, you got me. Okay, you're on my side.
On your side. Okay.
Thank you.
Bill May just came on. Remember the male synchronized swimmer I was talking about?
Yes.
Oh, that's the best in the world. He just jumped on real quick.
Well,
what up, Bill?
That is exciting because we talked about him. So now it's like it's famous people on my chat. You know,
he's one of the most incredible humans you'll ever meet. I mean, like my mom thinks of him as a son. He's like a brother. He's just incredible on every level. But yeah, he'll be excited. See,
there he is. Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill. Thanks for joining. We love you, Bill. We talked about you earlier. You'll have to go back to the beginning where we talked about you. Yeah, check the replay. So, as this is something that I'm curious about because you are also an incredibly motivated person. I mean, I will, you know, anytime I go on your Instagram, you're either running or boxing or coaching somebody or doing a 30-day challenge, which you just wrapped up where you had 30 days and you did something every single day. And I think especially kind of want to bring this up because we are still like exiting COVID. And so the motivation that maybe we once had for fitness or health or any of those things maybe is a little bit different. And I struggle with that too. I have that waning motivation of like, I'm in it, I want to work out. And I'm like, screw working out. I'm in COVID. I'm eating pizza. So my question is for you, what is something that helps you stay motivated? Because you do so much. And I'm always like, motivated as hell. Like, how keeps you motivated?
So there's two things. One, I do a lot of reflecting on because I'm such an emotional person, I need to keep myself centered, anchored. One thing I know is that I reflected on the things that make me happy or that keep me centered, and working out is one of those. I love the feeling of that way more than I love the feeling of like being depressed. So just from experience, I know that I want to do this rather than the easier thing, which is to lie around or not do the workout, not show up for myself. So just having reference points, I think it's even just like Kazi and I were talking about, like even through communication with people, even like in an argument with we didn't have an argument, but we had a talk.
Right.
We were talking about, hey, this is a reference point for how we want to deal with each other in the future. Let's just have this conversation. So I feel like every workout or every athletic accomplishment, it's like you have to really internalize it, reflect on it, and be like, hey, like how did that make me feel? that's a reference point for every time in the future when you don't feel like doing it. Also, I know that I have way more regret when I don't do it. Like, the feeling of regret from not doing the workout is way worse than the feeling of like not wanting to do it. I don't know if that makes sense, but basically I have this phrase that I say, do it for your future self, or your future self will thank you. Because I always know, like, if I don't feel like doing it, I do it. The next day I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm so
glad
happy.
I did
like,
that. Yeah.
Thank you, self, for showing up, because I just feel so much better that I did it then. I got it out of the way. I showed up for myself. Whatever I needed to do, I got it done, and now I have this freedom. So that's one thing, is just having those reference points from experience, you know? So it's not so helpful if you're just starting your journey, but if you're somebody who's been on a fitness journey for most of your life and you just need to get back to it, thinking back to those points and reflecting on it helps. The other thing that really helps me is I get a lot of my motivation from actually other people, but not by just soaking up their stuff, by putting myself out there and motivating them. Then I see them like getting inspired, it motivates me right back. So it's like a win-win situation. So sometimes when I don't feel like it, I'm like, let me go dedicate this run to somebody, or let me just like do it so I can post it and have public accountability, and maybe it will move somebody. So the motivation sometimes comes from wanting to help other people. And I don't know if it was you that I told this to, but I was listening to this podcast and Dr. Phil came on, and I've never been a Dr. Phil fan because he brings drama on his show. However, he's actually really insightful. And what he said on the podcast is the quickest way to get what you're lacking. No. Oh my God, I can't remember how he said it. It was so good. I always forget. His words are just like, basically the quickest way to get what you're seeking is to give away what you're lacking. It was something like that. So if you're feeling lonely, go find a homeless person and start a conversation and give them company, because they're actually lacking that too. And in return, neither of you are lonely now. So it's like, I need motivation. I can give, I'm lacking that. I don't always have motivation. I usually am disciplined, because it's freaking hard to stay motivated all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me go give some motivation to these people, and in turn I inspire myself. If that makes sense. So I'm motivated by my own motivation.
Yeah, I mean, I think
others.
It's like an energy, or like a kind of like, it's like FOMO almost, kind of, if you think about it, like you see you're giving motivation and then you see other people crushing, you're like, oh, I wish I was crushing it, and then you go crush it back, you give your own self FOMO, I guess. It's like a
or it's like I have to walk the talk, right? I just said it. Oh, look, CJ's here. CJ, we were just talking about you, about how you're afraid of my hands.
The funny thing is he's in the other room, so it's kind of funny. He's actually going to be a guest coming up soon as well, later this month, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's
my future vocal coach.
Yes, you're gonna be doing everything at that point. You'll be doing singing, dancing, you're gonna be doing literally everything at that point. So I don't know what. So that's kind of leads into my next question, actually. Is there a sport that you wouldn't try? Are you just an adrenaline junkie that you're like, I love the feel of everything, or are you like, hell no, I'm not doing that?
So I'm actually not an adrenaline junkie at all. That's the funny thing. It's for some reason, maybe I'm just lacking inhibitions or something like that, because people will be like, hey, you want to go do this? I'm like, yes. I say yes. But the moment that I show up, I say yes like a drunk idiot. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Woohoo, let's jump off that cliff.
Yeah, they're like, should we go run this race at midnight? I'm like, midnight of what? They're like, tonight. I'm like, oh, have you guys been training for it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I haven't. They're like, so do you want to do it? I'm like, yes. And I say yes to all these crazy challenges. And then I show up at the start line. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm like, why did I say yes? So the moment I'm there, I second guess myself. But I think I just my subconscious knows just do it, Amberley, because at the end I'm always thankful that I did it. So I learned so much of myself through putting myself through those challenges. It's not that I'm always conscious of it at the beginning, like, I'm going to say yes to this because I know I'll grow. It's not that at all. It's just like, yeah, that sounds fun. And then I'm like, why did I think it was going to be fun? So I'm actually not an adrenaline junkie. I don't go seeking things. They kind of fall in my lap and I just agree.
Got it.
With most things. But maybe I would say surfing. Even though there's like a little part of me that like really wants to be a badass surfer because I'm good in the water and I'm like
right.
So cool on a surfboard. But I'm afraid of sharks and just the ocean is like,
yeah.
As a swimmer who's used to being in pools where like I'm in control, in the ocean the water is for sure in control, and it's just terrifying to be a proficient swimmer that like might not have control in the water.
Yeah,
like,
no,
that's the worst nightmare for every swimmer. Yeah. So maybe surfing, but also,
surfing is one of those things too. I'm like, or I don't want the board to like pop up and like hit me in the head. That is one of my. I don't know how often that actually happens, but in my head it happens all the time. So I'm like, I don't want to slide up and then like conk me on the head. So I'm just like, I don't think I'll stay out. And also sharks, whales, anything else.
I'll say surfing because of the elements, but I mean, I've done skiing. I don't like the cold, but skiing's fine. I wanted to be a skateboarder when I was little, and my dad said no. So he got me a scooter instead. Because he said that skateboarders are on drugs and do all these things. Like, they get tattoos, they do
Sounds
drugs.
like something my father would say, honestly. So that's.
But guess what, Dad? Joke's on you. I'm a professional athlete and I have tattoos.
Well, you know, he tried. He tried his best.
He tried. My whole back is tatted up.
He tried he tried to get that skateboarding bad influence out of there. You know, just no skateboarding and
skateboarding. But I did wear the skateboarder clothes, and that's all that matters.
You know, that back in the day, that's what was cool. Like, you didn't have to actually. It was a lot of posers. There was a lot of like dealing with catalog, poser. You know, it was great. You know,
I was
a
skateboarding poser. Yes, I was a synchronized swimming skateboarding poser.
Perfect. You know, no one knows the difference. It doesn't matter. So, final question for you. I just want to wrap up on this is what's the best advice that a coach or someone that you really respect has ever given you that you think, you know, I should share this with the world because this could change a life?
Yeah. I will say I've had a lot of good coaches, my mom being one of those. But the thing that sticks out most for me is a couple of years ago, I was training with Nike for the Nike Women's Marathon project. It was to celebrate like 30 years of Just Do It campaign or whatever. So they put this whole team together of women from all different backgrounds. I was, of course, their boxer on set. They had they had whatever, TV hosts. They had everything. But because I was like one of the only pro athletes, it was almost like this. It was probably put on by myself, but it was almost like this pressure of like, oh, Amberley's gonna crush this, like every time. So there was this one run I had, and because of boxing, I keep my shoulders kind of high to protect. For running, that's trash. Don't do that. Right. I was going up a hill, and I was like using that, and it was a 14-mile run that I was shooting for with like sprints uphill, whatever. My traps locked up. You know what traps are for those that don't live up here, right? Where all your tension is. It locked up, went down to the point where I couldn't breathe in my lungs. Like, I couldn't really inhale. I, like, started crying. I couldn't finish. I tried to push so hard, and I just couldn't go on. I went down to the bottom of the hill to, like, the training camp where everybody was waiting. They're like, oh, my God, did you fall? Like, something terrible must have happened. I was like, I just couldn't finish the run. And I was supposed to do more miles than everybody, blah, 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 all this stuff. And everybody's like, oh my God, if Amberley can do it, I can't do it. And I'm like, great, now I'm crying even harder because I'm just like, I feel like a full failure, all this stuff. So we go back to our, recovery station after. And I was just sitting there by myself. I'm a social person too. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm like, oh my God, always like crazy dancing. I'm that one. And I was sitting staring at a wall. So Coach Blue, who actually he's on the Nike Run Club app, so if you ever do guided runs, you might hear his voice on there. He came over to me and he's like, what's up, champ? And I was just like, started crying as soon as he asked me that, because I didn't even feel like I deserved to be called champ, right? And I was just like, I failed. And he was like, huh. He was like, tell me why you failed. I was like, I couldn't do this. I didn't resist. It's like, I'm a failure. And just like beside myself, you know? And he was like, so just because you couldn't complete the run today, that means that you, Amberley Shaw, like you are a failure in all things in life because you didn't complete one run. I was like, well, I don't know. He was like, I'm going to tell you this. Just because you failed doesn't mean you're a failure. So basically, detach your self-worth from your accomplishments, because like you're so much more than that, right? But those words stick in my head so hard. Just because you failed doesn't mean you're a failure. And also, what is failing? I tried. I showed up. So it's perspective too. I just didn't reach my goal that day. And he did a whole speech with me. But I just didn't reach the goal that day. But maybe I can crush even more the next day. But it's a whole mindset thing. So I want everybody to remember that just because you may have failed that workout and not reached whatever goal you were going for does not mean that you are a failure. Keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and it's no indicator of where you can be in the future. Today is no indicator of that, as long as you keep showing up. So that's what it is.
Incredible. That's a really good one, you know, because I think I've been in a space personally of realizing that I put a lot of my worth on what I do, not on who I am. And trying to like separate, because I don't know if anybody does Enneagram tests. I did Enneagram. I'm a 3. It's an achiever. Shocker. So I have this like need to achieve and need to do all the time. But it's about what can you be? It's like, who are you? Who are you? Not what do you do? And so I've really had to, it's actually been a conversation I've had for the past couple of days with a friend of mine. And it's like, no, not what do you do? Who are you? And the difference of like having confidence in, you can have confidence in who you are. You might not be having confidence in the things that you do sometimes because imposter syndrome, all of those things that come up that we all face. But it doesn't mean that you as who you are is anything different. Like there's no value taken away from you because of anything that you do. And so I love that you said that came through again to me, you know, those little things that keep like, excuse me, like I'm trying to talk to you.
It actually did not impact me as much when he said it. I mean, I internalized it, but actually when it like came back full circle was when COVID hit, because I had a total identity crisis, and I'm like, okay, the boxing gym was closed, right? I could no longer train my clients face to face. So in my head, and I've said these things time and time again at the beginning of it, I'm a boxer who's not boxing. I'm a trainer who's not training. I don't know who I am or what to do with myself. Like I felt like I lost my whole identity and that I had nothing to give the world. And that's crazy because like I also know how to make people laugh. I'm funny, I'm kind, like I'm a lot of things that aren't attached to my accolades. And other people may see that, but it's hard for us to see that. But those words came back in, so I didn't know what to do. I just started running. Like when all the gyms shut down, I had no idea what to do. I hadn't been running a lot at that time. I just got up and went running. Was like, I need to clear my head. And I was like, when I started running, I remembered that, okay, like just because you failed, you're not a failure. Oh, maybe my self-worth shouldn't be attached to my accolades. And then I started digging more into what is self-worth. And I started watching some TED Talks and found
self-care.
Yeah, and they started talking about that, like detach your self-worth from what you do. It's not who you are. So that's exactly right. So it goes along those lines. And in training, you know, you're like really learning about who you are and what you're made of. And it's not about the knockout in the fight. It's about all the times that you showed up for training so that you're prepared to knock somebody out in a fight, right? It's about the journey. We always hear that. It sounds so cliche, but you can't knock somebody out without showing up each day. So that shows you like who you are as a person. Like I'm willing to just show up for myself no matter what it is every single day. And then the other stuff is icing on the cake. Like, people
Right.
won't even remember. They don't know my record. Well, nobody knows my record now because I'm not currently active.
Right.
But like, nobody like really knows that. But they, especially even if I was a world champion, may not remember my record 5, 10 years from now. Like, nobody cares about that. What
Mm-hmm.
people care about is that, okay, maybe they saw Suga Shaw get out at 6 a.m. and go running, and that inspired them to make a shift in their life, which changed the trajectory of their health, their overall wellness, and maybe they then inspired somebody else to do the same, and
Right.
that's what matters. So being
Yeah. It's
able
about
to,
people.
yeah, it's about people, and that's something that I realized during COVID too, is that you always go back to that, and like, that's why I did the 30-day challenge. I'm like, I'm lacking something right now. Let me make my own community. And it's about that, uplifting each other, empowering each other. It's not about who can get the most knockouts. I mean, that stuff's great. You can get paid off of that. But it's just, at the end of the day, at the end of your life, I'm preaching now, I know, but it's just, these are things I've had epiphanies on over the last year. So I'm just really like freshly passionate about it.
You know, bring it. Bring that.
It's just, yeah, it's just not that. It's not about that. There's so much, maybe it is some about that, but it's just so much more is what I'm trying to say, you know? Not to like downplay anybody's achievements, because that's amazing too. Hard work goes into it, but you can find so much happiness in the moment, being present. You don't always have to be
Right.
just striving for something crazy, you know? That's why I said the whole thing at the beginning about you are an athlete. If you put your body through stress and you learn about yourself through some physical activity, you're an athlete. You're moving your body, you're doing something athletic, you're an athlete, you know? So just keep showing up for yourself. That's
Yeah.
it.
It's
That's all
so
I
it's
got.
so good and it's so true. I mean, it's so interesting because it even lines up a little bit with last week about what I was talking to Kim about just like community and people, and like we are here for others. And so yes, like goals are great. It's great when you're like the top this or the best actress or whatever that is, but also it's like, but are you a good person? Are you,
Yeah.
are you kind? Are you like, are you loving? Are you just like a decent human? That trumps everything else, like, do you
Are you
have
adding
community?
to
Can
this
you help?
world? Like,
Right, right. And so I just like how it kind of all comes together, and we're all kind of saying that same thing, but it is so true. It's who are you, not what do you do, and bringing that to the table, because when you bring your full self and 100% of you and who you are, and how, whatever that special sauce that you bring, like, you can't go wrong. You will never
yeah.
lose if you bring if you bring that special thing that makes you will not lose. It doesn't matter if you actually lose in the fight, you get knocked out, and in boxing terms, you get knocked out, but you didn't lose because you showed up, like, knowing that you put in 100% of the work, knowing that you gave everything that you had, and then just being genuine you, like, you can't lose.
Yeah. That's the win. That's definitely the win. Like, being able to be your true authentic self and try and get out there, put yourself out there, and just put the effort out. And well, one thing we say in boxing is there's no losses, there's only lessons. So
Mm,
get that L, if you got that L, you got that W. The L doesn't stand for loss. Like, most people in boxing don't say that. It's a lesson. So as long as you learn from it, like, it's also a win, because it's gonna just
right.
only like put you further in your life. Or maybe you learn something and your next fight you're gonna do even better, and maybe you're unstoppable after that. So
Yeah.
everything happens for a reason, and maybe you just need to learn a lesson. But that's all life is, right? Learning lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally love fitness and athletics because you learn the most about yourself. Like, in running, there's nothing there's nothing except for you and the road, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can't rely on somebody else. You have no like ball to play with. There's nothing. You and the road, and it strips you down to your realest rawest self. And I think same thing with boxing. You see what you're made of, and you learn a lot of life lessons. It's not just about like, am I the best runner? It's like, do I have like the grit to stick with it even when I feel like I don't want to do this anymore, even when it's not fun, like when the
Mm-hmm.
motivation has left. Will I be able to like do the discipline side, right?
Right.
And so you just learn so much of like also how you speak to yourself. Like, if you'll notice, if you do negative self-talk real quick, if
Mm-hmm.
you're in the middle of a plank or a burpee set or some sprints or sparring, like, you'll see what you need to work on. on a
Right.
personal level through fitness, through athletics. So I think it's just so good. Also the team aspect. Like one thing I've noticed is that I'm much like more equipped to pivot with things in life. You know, things won't always go our way type of thing. But like, okay, now can I pivot? Or will I just crumble? So in sports, you're always gonna have a teammate that gets injured at the worst possible time, or you get injured at the worst possible time. Now what, right? So you have an injury right now. It's like, how do you pivot with that? Like, I know you have your own interpretation of where to go now.
Right.
It's like, what do I do? How do I pivot? Is this like a sign to give up? Is this a sign to like, or is this like a test to push harder? You have to see what it means for you. But I've noticed a lot of my friends who haven't been involved in athletics or fitness or anything in their life, they crumble because they're just not used to those pressures as they're like growing up of things being thrown at them, that they have to, in a moment, be able to switch it up and just handle it like a boss, like cool under pressure, you know? So that helps with everything. Definitely helps with acting and stuff like that too. You know, we both are in that crazy world. So yeah. Lots.
Yay! There's so many lessons, and I thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your time with me. Because I need to wrap it up because I know we're closing on an hour, and I don't know how sometimes they shut you off on Instagram. But thank you so much for just taking the time to share with us about, you know, connecting the dots for me, because I was always like boxing, synchronized swimming, don't get it. But thank you for connecting the dots. Thank you for just sharing your wisdom and information and everything that you have about, you know, training and being an athlete, because I think that is so important. We all are athletes, so these are things that we can all take along with us. Again, we'll just shout out my brother's new single drop today. It's called Monster on Spotify, so we'll drop it out because I said it at the beginning, so we'll bring it back around now. But that is on. He will be my guest on the 21st, so it'll be interesting. We're actually in the same house, so
I'll be dropping all the comments.
Yes, we'll be in the same house having a conversation. I'll be like real Oprah, okay? This is like real exciting. But thank you so much for coming on. Give everybody your Instagram handle where they can find you, everything like that, and how they can get involved with you on training. I know you have a class tomorrow, live class tomorrow.
Yeah, yes. So I just finished my 30-day challenge, but I wanted to continue to hold all my friends and family accountable and provide a platform where people can work out with me, because I know it's so much easier when you have somebody's energy in your face. So I'm going live every Tuesday and Thursday on my YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Pacific. It's just like a 20-minute HIIT workout, so you do not need nothing but yourself and a good attitude.
Yeah.
And so my YouTube is Suga Shaw, pretty easy to find. And my Instagram is at Suga Shaw _herself. That is I. So basically, same thing. And if you're interested in any private training, you can DM me there. Check out all my YouTube videos that are already up. And Brittany and I are going to be doing some collabs soon too.
Yes, when y'all see me synchronize, because really right now, only thing I can do for my foot is swimming. So when y'all see me synchronize swimming and boxing, don't come for me, okay? Just don't ask questions. Just know that it happened. But it will be happening. So if you missed any of this conversation, you can go back to IGTV Live, and then it will be up on Spotify and anywhere else you listen to your podcast. Hopefully tonight, if not tomorrow. Just depends on the editing. You are going to be everywhere. Also, I have a YouTube channel. Every conversation is on my YouTube as well. So you can find us anywhere that you love to consume your media, which is the goal, right? So thank you again so much, and I will be seeing you soon with all my talents. You know.
Yes, I can't wait. Thank you. You're such a beautiful blessing to us all. I love you.
Bye.
Bye.